All the leaves are brown and the sky is gray. Libido has withdrawn from the outer world. The feeling function has gone cold. Gray is the loss of meaning. The brown leaves are decay, death before it's renewed. I've been for a walk on a winter's day. The ego keeps moving, but inside, the psyche experiences a frozen soul. I'd be safe and warm if I was in LA. An image that compensates safety and warmth. A return to libido and arrows. LA works as the anima charge for creative life, the projection of hope and possibilities. If I was in LA shows. His current place is emotionally dead. It offers no vitality. Last is California dreaming on such a winter's day. The dream is the psyche clutching to illusion in a moment of deepest pain. The first line is, ain't found a way to kill me yet. The self refuses to die to his enemies. He's confident because the self remains, despite attack. But then, eyes burn with stinging sweat. The dreamer's conscious efforts are exhausting and blinding. Jung would explain these dream contents as calcinatio, purifying heat, mixed with solutio, moisture that dissolves ego. The combination is psychic heat and moisture. Together they blind the ego. This results in working hard without seeing. Seems every path leads to nowhere. This is the journey through the underworld. All the dreamer's maps failed him on his journey. His paths do lead him to nowhere. Nowhere for Jung is the aporia, turning toward the self instead of more willpower. The next lines are, wife and kids, household pet. Army green was no safe bet. The bullet screamed to me from somewhere. The dream begins with an image of arrows, the personal world of love and instincts. The army soldier role is forced on the dreamer. It shows a dissolved identity in service of the collective. To call it no safe bet is the psyche acknowledging that their persona is hollow and incapable of protecting arrows. The phrase, scream to me, matters. At me would mean the ego feels directly attacked. To me suggests something is being communicated. It's trauma, speaking with the psyche's voice. The trauma's origins come from external violence and internal guilt. The bullet is repressed materials. It often has no clear source, just intense mental energy. The course lines are, here they come to snuff the rooster, you know he ain't gonna die. The rooster is consciousness, known as the herald of dawn for its wakefulness. To snuff the rooster is the shadow's attempt to silence consciousness, to suppress psychic growth through individuation. The they is the collective, archetypal forces of repression and death. When he sings, you know he ain't gonna die, this signals another voice in the dream. In Jungian terms, this could be the self speaking through a figure within the dream, assuring the dreamer consciousness after death. The dreamer doesn't proclaim it, the unconscious reminds him of it. He says, walking tall, machine gun man. The dreamer's persona, walking tall, is ego identification. The persona is rejected by the psyche when he says, they spit on me in my homeland. Liquid in dreams is often a signal of ego dissolution. If it's in his homeland, the liquid is from the self. The ego is being forced open and dissolved by unconscious material. The dissolution isn't neutral. This is humiliating ego death. When he says, Gloria sent me pictures of my boy, it intensifies the war between persona and arrows. Jung would say, the dreamer produces images of arrows as a horizon symbol, a vision of a future life, helping the dreamer stay afloat while drowning. The dream closes with, got my pills against mosquito death. The psyche announces that the dreamer has artificial protection, a thin shield against the vastness of mortality. The next image, the dreamer's companion, is breathing his dying breath. In dreams, the dying companion is the dreamer himself. One side of the psyche is taking pills. The other side is dying. Ego and shadow have split. They yell to God, oh God, please won't you help me make it through? Even when the ego doesn't believe, the psyche still pushes upward. Jung would call this a numinous plea. The moment the ego is stripped of defenses, it invokes the archetype of God as a container for the dreamer's suffering. The psyche is at its threshold. The first lyric is, I watched you change into a fly. You were close enough to witness the person be devalued. A fly is shadow, it's decay, irritation, it's a pest. Then I looked away, you were on fire. The ego can't face the shadow. Fire is the ego, undergoing calcinatio. Repression combusts, and pain and passion force transformation. In dream logic, the other in the song is the singer's split. So in the next part, he says, "And I watched a change in you. It's like you never had wings." Now he chooses to watch again. Ego is watching a part of itself shift. He sees that part of himself as not transcendent. Wings symbolize spirit. The devaluization can be healthy, ridding inflation, or destructive. Ego turns against its own shadow, resulting in self-attack. The part is repressed, then comes back as neurosis. Next he sings, "I took you home, laid you on the glass." His home here is a lab for a detailed look at the shadow. The fly is laid onto the glass. This could be a slide for microscopic study or a mirror reflecting his shadow. In the next line he pulls off the wings. This is what Jung termed fixatio, preventing and consciously stopping growth. Then he says he laughed. In a dream, laughter is the sign of the trickster. In this context, the dreamer has real power, but no empathy. The dream's message? Power imprisons your shadow in places of safety, removes your spirit and potential for transcendence, then shows enjoyment in the process. The first two lines are anima projection and a desire to fuse vision. To see, like your eyes do, means the dreamer doesn't just want to see what the other sees, but to dissolve into how they see. The ego isn't holding its own vantage point. Jung would say, the dreamer's ego is fragile. His psyche drifts into the other, or collective. The dreamer goes downstairs, the psyche's lower levels, which is shadow, hidden content, where no one can see. The persona drops. The psyche is saying, merging with the other happens in hidden layers, and not in a public ego-based world. New life breaking away. Jung saw the descent into shadow as the precondition for psychic rebirth. When it breaks away, it's the psyche leaving old ideas of the self. Merging with the other catalyzes transformation, but you risk fracturing the old ego. The first line he sings is, "You make the water warm." The warm water is accelerated ego dissolution. Water is symbolic of the unconscious for its vastness. It can drown the sense of self. When it's made warm, it's from feelings of safety and warmth. He says, "You make the water warm." The other figure is the anima. When the anima warms solution, ego dissolving water, the annihilation becomes alive with intimacy. The next line is, "You taste foreign." The tasting in dreams is merging. It's foreign. He has taken in a source of anima outside himself. Lastly, the next line and chorus are, "I know you can see the chord break away. I feel like more." A capacity to see the split from the foreign anima, but it has a grip on the part of the brain that feels instead of sees. The lyrics, "How does it feel to treat me like you do?" sets the dream in second person. The dreamer isn't speaking from the ego, but to another figure, a dialogue with an autonomous inner figure. Often it's the animus, or shadow. The dreamer is asking the other about its feelings, not reporting his own. This reversal signals alexithymia. He's cut off from his own feeling function. The next lyric is, "When you've laid your hands upon me." Touch from an inner other is archetypal. It can heal or dominate. The lyric, "And told me who you are," is the inner figure self-announcing. It names itself. The dreamer doesn't name it. This is the moment an autonomous complex declares itself. In Jungian terms, the animus, or a shadow-animus hybrid, appears and defines the encounter. The ego is passive. It receives touch and hears words, but doesn't act. The other is active. This imbalance is often a sign that the dreamer's ego is under the influence of something unconscious. The dreamer is caught between complaint and fascination, asking the figure to explain its power. In the chorus, the line, "I thought I was mistaken," is next. The dreamer doubts his own perception. In dream language, this is ego disorientation. After the other touches the dreamer and named itself, the ego's first response is, "Maybe I'm wrong." This points to projection. The dreamer can't be sure whether what happened was internal or imagined. The next line is, "I thought I heard your words." The other's voice is half heard, almost hallucinated. This is how autonomous complexes often manifest in dreams. The voice is spoken with authority, but the ego is unsure if it's his own mind or the figure. Jung has termed this the threshold of consciousness. Logos is speaking through animus, but distorted in transit. Now the lyric is, "Tell me, how do I feel?" Tell me now, how do I feel? This dependence on the animus is exactly how it takes over. The ego gives up its own feeling. The repetition intensified with "tell me now" signals urgency, desperate for the other to answer. The line ends without resolution. How he feels is never shown. The chorus enacts the failure of the feeling function. The question circles. The dream is the unconscious, dramatizing alexithymia, cut off from feeling. The dreamer leans on an autonomous figure to define his inner life.